Hello, 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 all of my fabulous, beautiful people, and how are we all doing today? I hope that you're all doing very, very, very well, and that you are ready to read through this Eckankar book with me. Now, we have already read through the first part, so I am going to ask you to stop the video right now and go and watch the first part of the Eckankar Presents Is Life a Random Walk book by Harold Klemp. I will leave the link up here at some point very, very soon. I hope it's popping up there right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be mad at YouTube, y'all. So without further ado, we are going to be reading through the second part now. I might have to do this in 3 parts, and that is called I Want to Go Home. That is where we have left off. So again, go watch the first part and then watch this one. But if you've already seen the first part, then welcome. Let's read through the second part now. I want to go home. A child we'll call Debra, for the sake of privacy and probably because this story is not real, was born with a valve defect in her stomach. Doctors were at a loss whether she would outgrow the condition. All during Debra's childhood, her parents had introduced her to strangers. Our daughter was born with a stomach defect. She doesn't keep food down well. And what I wrote for this is that there is emotional manipulation and that it is strange to me that the parents would constantly introduce their daughter as someone born with a stomach defect. Negative comments like that added an extra burden to this poor child's youth. One day, the problem reached a crisis. Debra's parents found her turning blue and rushed her to a hospital. By luck and divine grace, she pulled through. The doctors who treated her predicted that the stomach valve, which they fixed, would cause no future problems. Now, Debra's older sister took a fiendish delight in making fun of her. Soon after Debra returned from the hospital, her sister picked a fight. Now, I have the next few sentences underlined. I have this part here underlined. Family rules kept the older girl from giving the younger one a physical beating, yet verbal abuse and name-calling did the job. They left no visible scars. And I wrote that it's strange to me that Harold is constantly talking about abuse in his stories. He seems to have this obsession with using abuse, especially abuse of children, as emotional manipulation in his books. On that particular day, the younger girl simply got tired of the hazing and turned on her sister. She beat up her tormentor. Outraged, the elder ran and told their father. The wisdom of Solomon he had not. So he sent Debra to her room. And I say that that is an odd lesson to teach in Eck. Debra was recovering from a serious condition. Her sister had started the fight. She's the one banished to her room. She lay weeping on the bed, crushed by the injustice of it. And again, I wrote, this is a very odd lesson. I want to go home, she cried. I just want to go home. I wanna go home. In a spiritual sense, her heart was saying, I want to go home to God because of my unhappiness. I'll just put a trigger warning right here for all the people that maybe need one. But this story leads into this child, Debra, having some suicidal ideations here, in which she is wishing she could go home to God because she's so unhappy with her and her sister's fight. And I just think this has gotten very, very dark. And remember, Is Life a Random Walk is one of the free books that they send out in physical form when you join Eckankar. So everyone is meant to read this. Each of us is soul. Once we laugh and sang in the high heavens of God's pure light and sound, at play in the park. But without the discipline or need to serve others, we, soul, served ourselves. So, God sent us to earth for the rich experience of living in a world of duality, to suffer and enjoy extremes like heat and cold, wealth and poverty, or love and hate. It was all to learn the true nature of love. And my notes here says that, according to Eck, earth means that you need to suffer in order to obtain God's love. Once again, that's a strange thing. Especially since it continues on to say, that's our mission. The first big lesson is to learn to love ourselves. I find it very strange that they're saying that the mission is to go to earth and suffer for God's love, and that you need to go through that in order to love yourself. Like you have to go through a bunch of pain and suffering in order to love yourself. And I don't personally believe that that's the case. So when young Debra cried, I want to go home, I just want to go home,
I wanna go home.
her plea was in a spiritual sense. In her abject misery, the faint, but not extinguished, memory of soul's one-time home flooded in upon her. She remembered that her true home wasn't on earth. She was but passing through. And I wrote doomsday ? Accept life for what it is. As Debra heard the sound of her own words, she snapped from her self-pity and returned to her human cage, timeless ages, yet a mere heartbeat from bliss in the heart of God. And at the top of this page I wrote, it is still very odd to use a child and to use suicide to teach this lesson. I am home, she realized. This time, she didn't mean her heavenly home, but earth. Hard, merciless, uncaring earth. A little pessimistic, but okay. I'm as home as I'm going to get, she said aloud. It won't get better here. That's a bit depressing. So I may as well wipe my tears and plan for the day I'm old enough to leave. She stopped crying then. Just like that, a key realization had stolen in upon her. Conditions might stumble along at home, but truth to tell, they were well within the limits of endurance. And I feel like that sounds a little privileged, but you know, whatever. This suggested the need to accept her station in life. What an important realization for a child. And I wrote, it's a lot of emotional manipulation, and it is a bizarre realization for a child told to us in a very strange way. Let me know what you think about this down below. The next part is the hand of God. Debra grew up, married, and endured hardships that led to a budding maturity, losing her firstborn son. And I find this, again, I don't know why we have to tell these stories through so much sorrow. The marriage missing a breakup by a narrow margin, and other such suffering took her to the brink of hopeless abandonment. Again, I feel like we're talking about suicidal ideations pretty much, and I just don't like that they keep using it. One day, depressed and despondent, she sought refuge in church. Catholicism was the faith of her youth. Yeah, mine too. Now she had hit rock bottom. Inside the church, a prayer service was in session, and worshippers all around murmured soft prayers. At that moment, sunk in the depths of despair, she felt a hand of comfort come to rest upon her shoulder. Her eyes flew open in surprise. She glanced back to bless that gentle soul's touch. But Empty air greeted her widened eyes. No one stood near. It was a ghost, and I wrote r/that happened. In a way, you could say it was the hand of God through the personage of a divine messenger. God itself, in Eck, we neither say him nor her, does not descend into the human theater to move among people in the normal sense. This is giving everyone a sense of importance to God. And I also find it interesting that they bring up here that they do not gender their God. That's important when we're looking at this cult. Yet the deity, which now we're calling it that, does send spiritual messengers, often perceived as angels, saints, and the like. Debra realized it in a heartbeat. A guardian angel, oh my God, had indeed placed a hand of reassurance and comfort upon her. Wow, a guardian angel. Debra's story is a wonderful example of how you too may experience a gentle nudging from divine spirit, Eck, to help you on your journey home to God. I wanna go home. I said this is using methodology and imagination to prove that Eck is real. Even before leaving church, she knew that a gift of grace had touched her with a special blessing. This extraordinary moment of realization was the assurance of an ancient truth. Life is more than a random walk. Oh, what do you know? That's kind of the question of the book, isn't it? Is life a random walk? I guess here we find out it's more than that. A divine presence had graced her. As a Catholic, more grounded in the physical side of life than the mystical, was startled by such a realization of grace. It come through the touch of a gentle, albeit invisible, hand. Again, it was a ghost. Eternity here and now? The years passed. In time, Debra bore a second son we'll call Jim. Once grown, he took an interest in spiritual things. Debra did too. Though life's trials left raw wounds that begged for more time to heal. A little depressing. She still exercised caution about religion. Yet, her view about the next spiritual step was a childlike one. I don't know why Harold Klemp is so obsessed with children. Intuition whispered that when a student is ready, the master appears. And the resulting link up is a most natural one. After all, hadn't she already waited years on end to discover the next step to truth after feeling the hand on her shoulder in church so long ago? Whew, what a run-on sentence. What was another month or year? Jim, however, with all the exuberance and impatience of youth, took a more direct tack. Eternity now, he said. One day he was reading an Eck book, of course he was, in back of which was listed a phone number. What are you reading? Said Debra. There's something in it about eternity here and now, he replied. Eternity here and now sounds very strange. I'm going to call the number and see what I can find out. A pleasant, cheery voice came on the line. An Eckist told of an upcoming meeting where someone would explain more about the teachings of Eck. I'm going, he told his mother, though leery of any religious teaching other than Catholicism. She decided to join him to ensure no one took advantage of her baby. Mother, please, he said, don't make a scene. Jim could imagine her throwing angry accusations at the group. Very strange that that's what he imagines. I don't know why he hates his mom so much. He offered a compromise. If you promise not to embarrass me, you may come. Ouch. So they set out. Near the end of the introductory meeting on the teachings of Eck, a speaker addressed the group. To give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, he said, I would like to invite you all to sing "You" with me. Then, very softly, he and the others began to chant "You." Of course they did, right? Everything's about the damn "You" song, even in this book. Is an ancient, holy name for God. You can sing it at home. Simply sit or lie in a quiet place and sing "You," pronounced like "Hugh." This age-old song lets the voice of God enter you as love, light, or sound. Thank you for once again explaining what "Hugh" is for the 100th time. The light and sound of God are integral parts of divine love known to but a few. The twin pillars of God's love, they are the mainstays of the Eck teachings. In fact, the spiritual travelers of Eck ride them out of the body and into the cosmic seas via soul travel. Of course, the soul travel introduction. Like a surfer riding ocean waves. This method is a direct route to finding love, wisdom, and spiritual freedom. Yeah, according to you guys. Debra's mind drifted to a time 3 years earlier at a Renaissance fair. Astrology and many other paths had exhibits there. In a little room where people came to meditate stood a crystal bowl. The host had run a stick with a rubber tip along the edge of the bowl, producing a magnificent, soothing sound. It was most beautiful and healing. And I wrote that this is just kind of a random story I guess we're hearing about. So at this Eck meeting, Debra listened to the others chant Hugh. That sound! Where had she heard it before? Suddenly it dawned on her. It was like the soothing sound at the fair. Like, okay then. The stick with the rubber tip running slowly around the edge of the crystal bowl had also made this sound of Hugh, ancient name for God. You know, in case you forgot what Hugh meant from a few paragraphs ago. She learned that a recording of a Hugh song was available at the Eck meeting. Full of excitement, she bought one. It surprised Jim. "What are you doing, Mother? You never buy such things." She told him about the same wonderful sound she'd once heard at the Renaissance fair. She simply wanted to hear it once more. A trip to the Eck Temple. Mother and son became members of Eckankar. Soon after, the Temple of Eck opened in Chanhassen, Minnesota, a suburb of Minneapolis. "Let's drive to Minnesota and see this place," Jim said. "Yes," she agreed. "Maybe we'll have a great experience there." Sure, that's how it went. In her heart, she knew she would. This occasion sparked a dim reminder from her childhood, another random story, when she'd sobbed on the bed. "I want to go home. I just want to go home. I wanna go home." She didn't understand what she had meant then, and even less now. So they drove from the East Coast with a sadly out-of-date map of Minneapolis. Why does the map have to be out of date and sad? I'm just wondering. Many changes since the map's publication had all but rendered it useless. Upon reaching the outskirts of Chanhassen, they asked a young gas station attendant for directions to the Temple of Eck. "Never heard of it," said the youth. I wish I had never heard of it. Back on the road, they tracked an uncertain route to the town center of Chanhassen, certain of finding the Temple of Eck nearby. But to complicate matters, dusk had stolen upon them. Then, while heading down the main street, a sense of deja vu overcame Debra. She braked to a stop in the middle of the street. "Mother," Jim said. "What are you doing? We almost died, damn it!" Frozen in wonder at the wheel, she replied, "I've been here before." Long years ago, a recurring dream had foretold this visit to a small town with what seemed like a year-round winter, except for a brief spell that natives call summer. The description fits Minnesota. Okay. In her dream, she had walked past a hardware store, and then she would see the town clock. The scene was always the same. She'd awake to a feeling of dreams more real than waking life, yet she'd forgotten them until this very night. And I write that this is a very odd story in order to prove past lives and Eckankar, and it's very convenient that this is when she remembers all of this. "I've been here before," she repeated. Traffic backing up behind them forced her to move on. Minutes later, they found the Temple of Eck near the edge of town. This Eck Temple is a very special place. It's an outer symbol for the holy temple of God within the heart of all people. Visitors to it often remark upon a presence, a very definite, loving, divine one. The temple reflects and resonates with the light and sound of God, and many people mention this sense of being in a unique, holy place. So I guess you can feel God. A great experience? The last couple of titles in the book have been questions, which I find quite funny. Like they're not really sure if this is a great experience. The great experience? Parking the car, mother and son entered the Eck Temple and took seats in the sanctuary. Debra waited in quiet expectation, wondering, when will I have my great experience? Even as the thought arose, a soft voice from nowhere said, "Well, what do you want?" Do you need to get run over by a truck? What the fuck? Already she'd forgotten the deja vu of minutes ago. And I don't know why all of this has to get so violent. Someone once asked me, how do people in Eck usually find truth? He meant, does it hit like a bombshell? Not really. Yes, it could be an experience to deeply stir the emotions and feelings, yet more often it subtly slips past people, so they miss it. Within the hour, Debra had a marvelous experience of locating the actual town from recurring dreams years long gone. That was the great experience. Oh, well, wonderful. So she dreamed up Minnesota, I guess, and now that works out as the map better than the map itself? Great skeptics and doubters often go farthest on the path to God. Someone may ask, is there hope for me? I don't buy this God stuff. No problem. Take your time, for all seekers must proceed at their own pace. Yeah, if my atheist ass ever ends up believing in God again, then hell would have frozen over, so I don't think it's gonna happen, no matter how much time we take. But one truth I can give you is the word hue. And the spiritual exercises to find God. Truth is a weird use of language to manipulate because it's not the truth, right? But anyway, yet the success of these depends upon you. Now it sounds like an MLM. Can you spend a few minutes a day to open your heart to the Holy Spirit? To do the spiritual exercises with love and passion? To give your whole mind and heart to such a self-discipline for a few moments? I can't. If the reply is yes, you are bound to make progress in your quest for the secret laws of life. Today's mysteries will no longer be mysteries tomorrow. So it's a very large claim to make, and it's funny how this cult continues to give people feelings of inclusiveness to further manipulate them. Like, look at you, you joined the club. Once again, I do find it very, very strange that whenever Harold Klemp tells a story, especially a story about a child, that child seems to be under immense suffering. And I get that a lot of times these stories of suffering are used to show that joining this cult or religion can stop your suffering. And again, I find that very, very manipulative, and I just cannot get down with the fact that this man used a child having suicidal ideations to claim that she had some kind of connection to a past life. And this is my problem with this belief of reincarnation and how Harold Klemp seems to believe and want to teach it via these books. Obviously, Debra is most likely not a real person. Let's be real. We've talked before in past videos on this and streams about how I do fully believe that Harold Klemp is just making up these fantasy stories to put in his book so that he has several different reasons as to how his fake religion helps people. Please do let me know what you think of this part of the book. And even the last part of the book, if you didn't write under the last video, right? And let me know what you guys are finding out about this book. I'm sure you guys are picking up on things that even I'm not picking up on just because I am so deep into reading this now. Maybe I'm missing some things. So I'd love to hear from you guys on the outside of the cult here, because I did kind of join it to deep dive it, although they have not taken me fully in yet. Trust. I definitely want your guys' opinions and what you think about this book and just extra things that you might pick up on in terms of manipulation tactics or his writing style, storytelling style, what you think is real versus what you think is not real in this book. So please do let me know all of your thoughts and feelings about Is Life a Random Walk, Harold Klemp, and even Eckankar, the Eck, the Hugh song, and all of it down below. Please make sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you are new here. I would love it if you joined our fabulous, amazing members. All of the beautiful people do, and you don't want to be ugly like Harold Klemp. He's not really the best looking dude. Thank you so much for watching, for subscribing, for liking the videos, for commenting under my community tab post to help my algorithm. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for all the new subscribers as we deep dive these cults, talk about these scammy lolcows in future, and just have fun here with some comedy. I hope that this year is going to be be our best one on the platform. I look forward to doing it with all of you. So thank you again for being here, and I'll see you all very, very soon with another one. And every Friday is Eckankar Day. Mwah! Bye! And remember, don't join a fucking cult!
I wanna go home.